Hello, welcome to another episode of the Wholehearted Healing with Jo podcast. My name is Johanna. I am your host. And today we're going to talk about what it takes to heal yourself or just heal in general. I know it's been a little while since I've been on the podcast, a couple weeks at this point, actually, I think. There's been a lot kind of going on in my life and I've been reflecting on a lot. And with that time away, I actually have a lot of ideas of things I kind of came up to me that I want to, talk about and share with you all. So today is going to be, like I said, about what it takes to heal yourself. For those of you who are maybe new to the podcast, or maybe this is your first one that you're listening to, I am a manual osteopath as well as a massage therapist in my trade. I'm up in Canada. And this is an interesting topic for me because I feel like a lot of people in my clinical practice, they usually kind of show up in practice to be, kind of like looked after in a way, or, wanting me to kind of like solve their problems for them, right? And while some do take that extra effort and work on themselves, other people maybe don't, right? And I think starting off this conversation talking about that and really putting in the effort and the work in on yourself as much as it is important to have people as well who can guide you. So it's about having both, really. Sometimes we need that anchor. We need that person who can kind of ground us or give us an aspect of clarity that kind of serves us, right? And helps us move the needle forward in some way, because it's sometimes hard to see ourselves fully, right? Especially maybe when it's like unfamiliar territory. So obviously I have my clinical practice. If you're local, you obviously can, you can book those appointments with me. I'm up in Waterloo. But as well, I also have my 12-week coaching program, which is really a one-on-one program for the most part. The only thing that's really group is the weekly calls. But you get one-on-one access to me through text and chat, throughout the week, like Monday to Friday, and as well there's a curriculum, and we have an initial kind of kickoff call together where we go through an assessment and we really look at what's coming up in your health, what areas are contributing, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, and kind of going through, basically an assessment, a deep dive into the areas that could be kind of the key to influencing your health and really shifting your health. And so today I wanted to, like I said, talk about what it really takes to heal yourself, what it really takes to kind of move the needle forward when it comes to your health and your healing and getting back to your true self and getting back to this, just this well-rounded aspect of health, because it is very holistic. It's very linked together. You can't really have your physical health without also having mental, emotional, and spiritual health, right? Like they're all interconnected. So if the 12-week program, it is a virtual program. If that is something that you are interested in, or you have questions about, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. And yeah, I believe the application is also down below, so you can check that out as well. I have 3 spots open right now. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. So first, I want to talk about healing yourself in general. And I mean, the path is never ending, right? We're never perfectly healed. I think that that's kind of a very perfect way to view ourselves, which, I mean, life isn't perfect, right? There's so much unpredictability in life. There's ebbs and there's flows, there's good and there's bad, right? We live in a dualistic world. And so things are never going to be perfect. And so I think it's also about understanding that you're not ever going to get to this perfect place, but it's more about a journey that you kind of go on, right? And like, absolutely, there's going to be a destination that you want to get to when it comes to your health, but it's really about balance, right? Like we just want to be able to feel good enough to keep moving forward and to participate in life and to enjoy life, right? While also being able to look after ourselves and look after our health. And so with this, when things start to come up for us, when it comes to our health and our wellness and, maybe physical symptoms, mental, emotional, spiritual, right? Whatever they are, we have to reflect on these things, right? There's never going to be a perfect solution that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, do these steps and like magically things will just disappear. I think there can definitely be guidance, but the steps have to be tailored to you specifically, which is why I enjoy the one-on-one work and working with people one-on-one, because I can't just give you an answer out of a hat. I can give you options and like, try these and see what works. But, until I get my hands on you or until I work with you one-on-one and we can really sit down, then, I can't really give you, and that's why I don't really post a lot of stuff on my Instagram and stuff that's like how to do blah, 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 because there's not just like one way to do it. There's so many ways, right? There's so many tools. There's so many ways. There's so many different aspects of your health and your life that you can look at in order to make change, right? So you need to really do this reflection for yourself. And there's kind of 3 areas that I'm going to kind of talk about today, about like areas that you can reflect on to see, just like what's coming up for you, right? And thinking about these things if you're dealing with any sort of health related, goals or, just maybe not feeling your best, right? So the first one is emotional regulation. So this is looking at like how we're reacting to situations, how we're feeling, understanding even our emotions of just like, oh, I do this thing when this emotion comes up, right? Like I feel angry and I do this, or I feel sad and I overeat, right? Or whatever the thing is, it's like I feel upset and I'm missing joy, and so I go and spend something, right? Like I go and spend money or whatever. Like it could be so many different things that you do, or I pull back, or I pull my emotions back, or I suppress my emotions even maybe, but you could maybe pull your energy back where you isolate yourself or whatever the thing is. But it's paying attention to how you emotionally react to situations, and are you on a bit of a roller coaster? Right? Do you have these really high and really low, and why is that? Right? So we have to kind of start to do self-reflection around our emotions is huge. I actually had a client who she was noticing that she just had this like weird kind of like pain in around like her lower rib cage, liver area. She has a history of like fatty liver, and she's had her gallbladder removed and, all these things, right? And we were talking and we were just discussing things, and then she had just brought up the fact, she's like, I just like feel all this like resentment and frustration and anger towards, people and situations just in my personal life. Like I'm just so irritated with, I have to do everything and I this and I that, right? And I was like, it's really interesting that you say that, because like your liver and your gallbladder literally are those emotions of anger, resentment, bitterness, frustration. So, and then she was like thinking about it, and she's like, that's so interesting, because she's like, I started feeling this pain right in around the same time that I started feeling these emotions of like just this bitterness and this frustration in my life, right? And I'm like, that can absolutely be connected, right? And so that's a prime example of like your physical pain might not go away. It might shift and change, but it might not go away. Other problems could manifest as well if we don't look at this emotion that you're experiencing, right? So not only is it important to pay attention to the emotions that we're experiencing, but it's also important to pay attention to what is coming up for us physically, mentally, spiritually, when we're experiencing the emotions as well, right? So emotions are huge. And so the more you can get kind of tapped into yourself and understanding what emotions you're even feeling, because a lot of us try to bypass them, or our lives are so busy, so it's very easy to bypass them, right? So paying attention and tapping into how you're feeling on a daily basis is important. And you can literally just reflect on this at the end of your day, right? Or even partway through your day if you have a break or, whatever, right? The second thing is habits. And I think this is super important to reflect on, because just like the emotional piece, we can look at these patterns, right? And a lot of times we have habits that we know are maybe not serving us, are not good for us, but we don't know why we can't change them. Like, you're like, I know that eating sugar is not good for me, but why do I keep having to do it? And there's usually like an emotional reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. And it's to either get out of pain or experience pleasure, right? Sometimes it's both. You're literally trying to get out of the pain and experience pleasure, right? But it can also be, every decision we make is one of the two in our life. And so we form these habits. And habits are interesting because habits are actually any sort of like negative, we'll put that in air quotes, but any sort of negative air quote experience that you have or that you're a part of when it comes to like habits and things that you do, and you're kind of more your shadow aspects of yourself that maybe you're not thrilled about, that you wish you could change, kind of thing. They're really just trying to keep you alive, right? Like, you're doing that to cope. You're doing that for a certain reason. And really it's that you're doing it because you need a need met in that moment. And so if you can figure out why you're doing the habit in the first place, then, you can work to manage that better. And then you are able to give yourself also what you need in a different way. So for example, myself, I know that when I get tired, I want to eat more sugar, and probably because it gives me a little dopamine hit, right? But sugar is kind of it's always been a thing for me, but sugar is a thing that when I get tired, and I'm like, it's not necessarily that there's an emotion for me behind it. I don't think, at least I haven't uncovered that yet, if there is. But for me, this is more so just like, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, right? I'm exhausted. And so if I learn to manage my energy levels better, where I don't have those moments, then of the burnout, right? Of the being tired so much that I feel like I have to go indulge in something, then I can, one, prevent myself wanting to indulge, but also I can sit there and say, you know what, I'm just craving this because I'm tired. I really just need to like go have a nap, or I need to go rest, or I need to do something that just nourishes me from a restful perspective, right? And so when we're taking a look at like healing ourselves, habits are something that we can, we always have them, right? And they're good or they're bad, or supportive or not supportive. Although I would say they're all supportive, it's just whether they're a more positive way you could go about it or not, right? Again, they're serving a purpose. And that purpose, if you don't like that habit, you have to be like, okay, well, how can I give myself what I need in replace of that habit? Hopefully that makes sense. So if you're having habits that you're having a hard time changing, you need to look at why you feel called to habitually do that thing in the first place, basically. So again, more reflection on, in that aspect. And like eating and food is a big one. Alcohol, any recreational things, right? Like all these things that can kind of put a toll on our body in some way, shape, or form, or maybe not support ourselves nutritionally and energetically, right? Those things, obviously influence us quite a bit, moving our body, that sort of thing. So those are big things big areas to kind of look at when you're trying to figure out like, okay, how can I make change in my life? How can I support myself better? Habits are going to be a big one because it's why you do the things you do. And it's probably what got you there in the first place, as well as the emotional piece behind it. And then the third thing is loving yourself enough to make a change. And I think that this is something that in my personal life, I haven't always, I would sit here and say, I do love myself, but I think when I really take a look at my actions and maybe how I treat myself or how I do or don't support myself in certain ways, I can see where maybe I'm not actually acting from a place of love, right? The opposite of love is fear. And so if we are constantly acting out of fear or limiting beliefs or, not feeling like we're good enough, or not feeling like we deserve that, or, oh, I don't have time, or I don't, right? Like those are all like kind of like lower vibrational kind of energies to be functioning out of. And it's really not love, right? Like love is saying, you know what? No, I deserve this. I deserve to feel good. I deserve to, hit my health goals. I deserve to have the relationships that I want. I deserve to have supportive people. And loving yourself really comes with boundaries. I know, and again, to kind of just reflect this back on my own personal life with just, again, I've obviously been in this mode of reflection, but in my personal life, I totally revamped my relationship, like my romantic relationship sector of my life. I'm now in a very happy and healthy relationship. But I spent all of my 20s basically struggling to, find relationships that felt good and that were healthy and that were, built on a solid foundation of things. And it wasn't until I chose myself to say like, no, I deserve better. And this is what I want. And this is what I deserve. It wasn't until I put those boundaries to say like, I'm not settling for less that, eventually I found the relationship that gave me all of those things. But I had to create those boundaries with myself and then also with others to say like, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. So if you're not it, then see you bye, right? It's the same thing with food. It's the same thing with alcohol. It's the same with like whatever it is that you're trying to, working out, right? Resting and like, just doing the things that you need to get done in a day, right? That are supportive for you and your health. You have to say, I am sticking to this. And, even if I fall off track, I'm going to get back on the horse, right? Like you have to commit to yourself, and loving yourself is just choosing yourself first over and over and over and over again. And yes, we might slip because again, we're not perfect, but with that, you just have to always come back to like, you know what, I didn't choose myself there. I'm going to choose myself again, first next time. Right. And so I think asking yourself, like, are my actions and the way I'm living my life right now, whether it's in my relationships, in my finances, in my job, in my health and my wellness habits and things that I do, how I talk to myself, right? All of these things, like, do I act from a place of love when it comes to me and myself? And I know for women, that's a big thing because a lot of times we put everybody else in front of us and we give all this love to them, and then we don't have the cup full for ourselves, right? And so finding ways to love yourself, support yourself, set boundaries with yourself and other people, make decisions and, stick to them. And it's not about being perfect, it's about a journey, right? And so coming at things from a place of love is going to be super important when it comes to the success that you see as well. So those are kind of the three areas that I feel are important when it comes to looking at healing yourself and healing your physical body. All of these things, like, it's hard sometimes, like, people have to really experience this to, I think, sometimes really understand the connection between, your physical vessel, your physical body, and how you live your life are so interconnected, that if you're just only treating or looking at one area of your life, like let's say you're trying to, I don't know, like lose weight or something, and you're only doing the physical stuff, but you're still not looking at the emotional reasons why you don't work out, or the emotional reasons why you eat shitty food, or the emotional reasons as to why you overeat or like undereat, or whatever the thing is that you do. If you're not looking at those things, you're going to be on this yo-yo constantly, forever, until you finally take a look at something and say, okay, I'm finally ready to learn the lesson. I need to like really look at things here. And that's what is really going to help you make a shift and make a change in your life when it comes to your health. So like I mentioned, the Mindful Woman program is open. I have 3 spots right now. My 12-week journey, and we go through things like this. We sit down, we have a conversation. We obviously talk about your physical body because that is absolutely my wheelhouse. But at the same time, it's very much a a personal development growth and a personal development journey of like really reflecting on things. And, I give you tools and support and things that you can, do to support your physical body, as well as, questions and prompts and reflection on, what are your habits? What are the emotions that's coming up? How can we support ourselves more? How can we live this more well-rounded, healthy life to completely level up and transform your health from like all angles, right? So that's really what we look at in that 12-week program. So if that is something that interests you, then like I said, you guys can reach out to me on Instagram. The application link is also below. Those are probably the easiest ways to contact me. And then, yeah, other than that, I mean, definitely, obviously, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can do that. The link for that is down below too. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. So thank you all so much for being here with me today. I've got a lot of ideas of topics, so I think I'm going to be kind of planting those kind of weekly here for a little bit. So I'm super excited about that. And if you guys have any suggestions, I mean, feel free to, again, reach out to me on Instagram of things you want to know about or things you want to hear about. If you have any questions, just in general too, about your health and healing, like for sure, send me a message. I would love to be able to support you any way that I can. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hopefully you are getting out in the sunshine. Hopefully it is sunny and beautiful where you are. And I can't wait to hang out with you guys on the next podcast episode. So have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.